to follow all that. The speakers have used just about everything in my speech, so it should be pretty short. Thank you. This is an unbelievable honor. I really appreciate all of you showing up and coming here tonight. I know a lot of you came from a really long distance, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming. Before I get started, I want to honor someone. This individual is really the one that did most of the work organizing this weekend, taking phone calls and emails of 500 or 600 people, getting back to them, answering the phone calls, everything. She already had a job. She runs the store and she was membership, but she spent about 4 months doing all this. And I've known her for a while, and I've always called her my adopted granddaughter. I've got 3 granddaughters in New York I never get to see, so she's my adopted granddaughter. Amber Aragon, what a job she did. And let's give her a ovation. Amber, come forward. Much for the work she did, but I really do appreciate what all she has done. Back in January, I was in the office talking to Dave, and by the way, Dave's done one hell of a job with USA Shooting in the last 8 or 10 months he's been in charge. I certainly hope that they pick him as the new, what's the title? CEO, okay. Because it's unbelievable what he's done. And he has 100% from me behind him. Anyway, Dave called me, we were in the office, we got to talking, and he says, I'm thinking about maybe naming the range in your honor. He says, we talked to the USOC about naming it on the outside. He said, they want about $3 million for that. And I said, well, I don't think I can handle that. And he said, we can put your name in the inside, and we don't have to pay for that. And he said, I want to do a fundraiser with it. And he's already talked about this, but I'm going to mention it again. And he said, where would you like to see the money go? And I said, without a doubt, juniors. Juniors are our future. They're our future international shooters. They're our future Olympic medalists. And I want to see the money go to the National Junior Olympic Program. Every year, USA Shooting runs National Junior Olympic Program for rifle, pistol, and shotgun. They have to qualify at the state championships. This year, we had 700 kids here shooting in the Junior Olympics and the 3 events. 700 that qualified to come here. That's unbelievable. So thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. All the help. Where's Ernie? Is he still here? I just wanted to extend my thanks to Ernie for his fundraising. He just did an unbelievable job. Unbelievable. I know some of you out there probably changed your phone numbers and emails by now, but thanks, Ernie. Great job. At this point, I want to introduce family that are here. And I've got some cousins I haven't seen since I was that high that are here from Kansas and Missouri. So I'll introduce everybody. First, my daughter, Dina. Dina, will you stand? Dina and her husband. Her husband, Tom. Tom's U.S. Army retired Sergeant Major, and he's now working in Turkey, and he'll be back here for good in about 2 months. But he was able to get away a few days and be here for this ceremony. I really appreciate you coming, Tom. And Dina was a pretty good shooter in her own right. As Ronnie said, she was on the 88 Olympic team. She finished, I think, 10th, missed the final. But she won 2 individual world championship medals in small bore. One in 1986 in Germany, in East Germany, and the other one in 1990 in Moscow. Plus she won the Olympic, the World Cup final. Can't think of all these words. I get a little old. And she won in air gun. I don't remember where it was, but she went into the final in 8th place. In those days, you started the final based on what your score was. She went in 8th place and won it. And she won several more medals too in international competition. So she did an outstanding job. Actually, the 3 kids didn't have a choice. You know, we were gone all summer, and they sit around, and I don't know what all they did back there while I was shooting. And my wife was there too. It was like watching paint dry. And but the kids all decided, well, we're going to go to all these matches. We might as well learn to shoot. So they got involved. Like I said, they didn't have much choice. You've already met Ron, my oldest son, and he won a gold medal in the World Cup in Mexico. And he was, it's already been said, he was coach at West Point for 15 years. And Dan, who lives here, and Dan and Ron, you want to stand up for me? Dan works in Pueblo. Dan never did shoot international, but he shot a lot at Camp Perry. And 4 years ago, we shot as a team. I think there's a picture here somewhere of us. And the last time we shot at Camp Perry, the Any Sight Prone team, you guys can go ahead and sit down now. Any Sight Prone team and Wigger team, we shot a perfect 1600 and lost the match by about 3 X's. Coming in 2nd place. That's pretty darn good for a family team, huh? I'd like to introduce my sister Sherry and her daughter Ronelle and her husband Shane. His name is Sean, but I call him Shane. Anyway, they live in Florida and they came all the way out here for this ceremony. Thank you for coming. I've got some other cousins here. Dick and Jenny Klein from Kansas City. You guys want to stand up? He's a long-lost cousin. She's not quite as old as me yet. And her brother and wife are here. Larry Munsterman and his wife. You stand. And then this lady here with a funny-looking hat. You bet. It's Leila Greenwood from Missouri, so cousin. And I want to introduce my wife, Mary Kay, as she's a saint. She's a saint, believe me. Yeah. We met in college at Bozeman, Montana, Montana State, and January 1958. And I was there, did 1 quarter that year, and I spent spring quarter running back and forth to Bozeman. Anyway, we were married in December of '68. 58, yeah, not 60. And like somebody mentioned before, this fall, this December, it'll be 59 years. Never would have been here hadn't been for her. Her love, support, and sacrifice tonight, and my accomplishments would have never happened without her. And Mary Kay, I've got a little something for you. This is running a little longer than I thought. She traveled quite a bit with me, different matches in the world. She said she's seen some of the best rifle ranges in the world. And it's true. I got a little story about her that I usually tell. I can't remember whether it's true or not anymore because it's so long ago. Well, we were going together before we got married. I told her, I want you to understand my commitment to my goals. I said, if we get married and we have a baby, and there's enough money for milk for the baby or money for entry fees, don't misunderstand where that money's going to go. She thought I was kidding. Well, thank you. I appreciate all you've done for me. It never happened without you. I started shooting in Carter, Montana, a little town of about 50 people. I lived on a ranch in the middle of Montana. And we had a hall, a community hall in Carter that they did dances and stuff in. In the basement we had a rifle range. And we had a rifle club, of which my dad pretty much ran. Well, I wanted to play baseball. I knew all the names of the major leaguers, I knew it all. But there's no little league in those days, there's no chance, no opportunity. I like basketball too, but I wasn't good enough to play basketball until I beat him. So he says, well, how about we get you started in shooting? I says, well, okay, great. I want to do something. I want to be competitive. So he started getting me into shooting, and I ate it up. It was great. We trained in the winter a couple of nights a week. We'd go down and train, and he'd have to finally come in and pull me off the fire and off the line, say, we're closing the range tonight, we're going home. Otherwise, I'd have probably practiced all night long. So I really took to it. It was really fun, and I enjoyed it. We didn't have a junior club, so we didn't have juniors, just a senior club. And the senior club shot in a league in the county. So in the wintertime, we would have these competitions with other teams. Well, for a couple of years, I was learning how to shoot. I didn't go, but finally, they let me start going to the competitions in the league. And I got a little better, and I got to the point I started beating some of the seniors in the league matches, seniors on my team. And I wasn't too smart. I went to school and had to brag to the kids about beating their fathers. So that didn't go over very good, but I learned a lot from that. So I did shoot in that county league, and that's kind of where I learned how to shoot. I've got a good friend that's come here tonight from Carter, Montana. His son brought him, and we go back a long ways. I shot with him a lot back in those days. He shot with my father. My father died when he was 91, and this man is 92, and he wanted to be here tonight, and his son brought him. And I want to introduce John Nelson. John, would you stand up? He and wife and son. His son was only about 6 or 7 years old then, I think. Yeah, maybe 8. Anyway, they took me to Camp Perry. We were on the Montana High Power Civilian team. So he introduced me to Camp Perry. And I kind of liked it, so I went back for about 50, 60 years after that. My biggest supporter was my dad. He didn't get to see me shoot a lot international, but he was able to go to the '64 Olympics and be there with me and watch me shoot. We had a good time. We had a really good time. And then in 1974, he and my mother and another couple, was it John and Dorothy? Yeah. John and Dorothy went to the World Championships in Thun, Switzerland, and watched me shoot over there in American team shoot. And they got to travel around and see some different things. I know my dad and mother, I think I was probably with them at the time too. We found a little town in Switzerland. I don't know how many population was in the town, I don't remember. But half of them in the town were named Wigger. And so we kind of figured maybe that's where we came from. But he did get to see me shoot some. He passed away in 2007. This was the year before I was inducted in the Living Hall of Fame. And I wish he could have been there. He was my biggest fan. And I want to thank him for his effort, support, and encouragement. None of this would have happened without him. After high school, I went to college, as I told you, in Montana State in 1995. And in those days, in the schools, at least in Montana, you had to take basic ROTC your freshman and sophomore year. You didn't have a choice. You had to sign up. Either Air Force or Army. So I went down to Bozeman to register, and I got in the line for Air Force. And I was working my way up to get signed in. I had been told by somebody the Air Force had the best rifle team. And I wanted to be with the best rifle team. So I'm standing there in line, and 2 or 3 guys out of the Army line come over to me and says, "What the hell are you doing in the Air Force line?" And I said, "Well, I want to be with the best rifle team." Well, he said, "We got the best rifle team." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I went over to the Army line. So, Shane, I was that close. And Bob's back there somewhere too. And but I made the right decision. I got in the Army, and that's what caused me to get there. We went to a match in my junior year in El Paso, and there's 4 or 5 members of the marksmanship unit, Army marksmanship unit, that were there. They were recruiting and doing a clinic, and our whole team went to this clinic. We got to meet all these guys. Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was great. I decided right then and there that's what I wanted to do. So from that point on, that's what I worked toward. I got my commission as a second lieutenant in 1960 and entered the Army in 1961 and went through officers basic, infantry officers basic, then went directly to the marksmanship unit. And off and on, that was my assignment, was the Army marksmanship unit, except for 2 tours in Vietnam. Missed something here. See if I can find it here. Anyway, here I got it down here below. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank my coach in the Army, Bill Pullen, who coached a lot of us. And he taught me a lot. He taught me to think for myself and to analyze. And so I went to him with questions. You go and you'd ask him a question. By the time you got done talking to him, you'd answered your own question. And I learned an awful lot from him. You know, it takes years of training and hard work and repetition to learn how to shoot. And it takes several more years to learn how to win. And if you've got a coach that can teach you the mental aspects, you can get there a lot faster, and you need that. And he did that for me. He was out here to the last two reunions that we had. 2 years ago was the last one he was here. And he died this last fall. I don't know what his age was, 95, 96 or something like that. 95? And he would have been here tonight if he was still living and there was any way to be here. He would have been here. And I just want to mention him because he did an awful lot for me and helped me. Also, I wanted to thank the U.S. Army and the Army Marksmanship Unit for giving me the opportunity to train and compete and to support what you couldn't get anywhere else, which allowed me to become the best I could be. So I want to thank the Army. They were instrumental. There was no way the Federation or anybody else, unless you had a lot of money, that you were going to be able to train full-time and accomplish what you needed. Shooting is not a sport that you can shoot on weekends and win. It's full-time. It's full-time effort. I try to tell everybody that. You know, they come to you and say, I want to be an Olympian. Okay. You need to work hard. Oh, yeah, I'll work hard. I said, you gotta have desire. You gotta want it to do what's necessary to get there. And it's hard work. Oh, well, yeah, I can do that. You know, 9 out of 10 don't. They find out it's too hard and they give up. There's not very many that have the fortitude to do the work necessary to excel. Not very many people. And when you find them, you take advantage of them. Fortunately, at the Army Marksmanship Unit, I guess first I got to mention that General Eisenhower created the Marksmanship Unit in Fort Benning in 1956. And the rumor was that he was tired of seeing the Russians beat us in all sports and especially shooting. And he thought if he could form a marksmanship unit, could raise the standard of the soldiers in shooting throughout the Army. Well, that never really happened. But also international shooting. So we had a lot of shooters, rifle and pistol, came through the unit. In the 60s and 70s, the rifle shooters in Fort Benning dominated the Russians. In the 60s and 70s, we didn't hardly lose. We only had about 7 people. But you know what? We all had the same goal. We all wanted to win. We all worked our butts off to beat the other guy so we could make the team. When you went to a trials, you didn't beat some of your teammates, you didn't get to go. You went to the matches, the big match, you didn't beat some of your teammates, you didn't medal. It was that strong, and that's why we were good. We didn't have a lot of depth, but the 7 of us worked hard, and we wanted it. 3 of them are here tonight, and I'd like for them to stand. Dave Kimes, where's Dave? Jack Foster, and Lanny Basher. Thank you guys. Sit down. Dave's going to be inducted to the Hall of Fame tomorrow night. The other 2 are already members. There's 3 others that are not here tonight, but were part of the 7 all-time greats. Gary Anderson, Jack Ryder, and Margaret Murdoch. And they were all outstanding shooters, and they're hard to beat. I know. Because I was not a natural, and I had to work my tail off to beat them, which I did on occasion. I told Jack Ryder one time, I said, you know, I'll shoot against you 10 times. You're going to beat me 9 out of the 10. I said, the one I beat you is going to be the big one. Little gamesmanship. But you know, he brought that up a few years later. He remembered it. But we competed against each other in training, and competition has made us all better. These 7 shooters won 10 Olympic medals between them. 6 gold and 4 silver. And I don't even know how many individual world championship gold medals. I had no way to find out and count them. I didn't have time, but there's a lot of them. So these 7 shooters accomplished. 1973, 4 of us shot the Championship of the Americas in Mexico City. Jack Ryder, Lanny Basham, Margaret Murdoch, and myself. And in that competition that day, 3x40 small bore, we set all 4 world records in team. The prone team, the standing team, the kneeling team, and the aggregate team by 24 points. And I was lucky enough to win the individual with 11:67. I broke Jack Ryder's record of 11:66. The next year we went to the World Championships in Switzerland. And in the small bore 3x40 match, it was the same 4 people. And we were there shooting. We ended up in the aggregate 1, 2, 3, and 4 with a Russian 5th. How about that? Everyone here knows what it takes to be a champion or a success in life. There are no secrets. People come to you all the time wanting no secret. It takes hours and hours of hard work, commitment, dedication, sacrifice, and desire. Maybe desire is the most important. Everyone can be a winner. It just depends on how bad you want it. Never forget to dream. Dreams can and do come true. Thank you very much for listening to me for this 30 minutes.